Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah and welcome to my garden. Today I'm going to be doing a winter garden tour and I'm going to be doing a little bit of yard work along with that to try and get my beds ready for the winter and hopefully ready for the next garden season. You'll see my little dog Stella running around. She's my little companion outside. So my husband and I just bought this house in June, and so we weren't able to plant this year. It came with a couple of great fenced beds, but none of them have been maintained in the past few years. So it's going to be a lot of work to get them back to where they need to be, but I will start showing you where we're at. So this is the smallest of our fenced beds that the previous owner had put in, and you can see I put some cardboard down. This has gotten completely overgrown with weeds. So you can see here, this is kind of the state it was in before I started ripping it all out, and I just ran out of time and ran out of steam to get it cleaned up. There are some herbs, some perennials that are still surviving in here. It's a really happy, beautiful rosemary bush here, some sage, and then a kind of wintered oregano plant over there. In the middle of the yard, we've got this huge magnolia tree, which I really need to trim. And then these two rows are rows of raspberry bushes. They've gotten, you can see, really overgrown. I think that the previous owner probably hadn't maintained these in 3 to 5 years. I've got my shed, and that's my neighbor's garage. And then you can see up here, our property extends all the way up along the fence. This is the second of the 3 fenced garden beds in the backyard. You can see it's got a nice little gate, and as soon as we walk in, you'll see there are some evidence. You can see there's a raised bed, but there's some raised beds here. There's a trellis up there, but it's completely overgrown with this Johnson grass, and I just have not had time to come in here and pull everything out. So for this year, this is not going to be, we're not going to deal with it. It's going to be a project hopefully next year. So my plan is to have this one I'm going to start pulling out next year, and hopefully the year after we'll be planting in this raised bed, or this big kind of fenced garden bed. Now coming back to the middle of the yard, you can see my big magnolia. We've got 2 fig trees. These are really nice. This larger one produced exactly 1 fig this year. It's quite big. It's much taller than I am. And yeah, it produced exactly, well, I guess 2 figs, because we've got one here that never ripened. So I'm going to pull these down. We've got a bunch of figs. Here's my smaller fig tree, which actually produced quite a lot of figs. And my plan is to take the rest of them off the vine. All these green figs, there are a whole bunch of them. You can see some of them even have ripened a little bit during the last kind of week as we've had winter weather. So I'm going to pull all of these off of these trees, and we're going to try and figure out something to do with green figs. So I know green figs, there are some recipes in Italian cuisine that use green figs, so maybe I'll find something to do with them. And I think there's various methods you can use to actually ripen your figs, but I didn't get to this early enough this season, so I'm going to have to work on, and these ones that are all kind of dried out, I'm just going to toss them down, and some bird or rodent will make a nice meal of that. These aren't really edible for our purposes. So I'm learning as I go here. This is all the things that I inherited. And so next year, I'm going to be teaching myself, hopefully, with you all how to garden. Now we've got all of our figs harvested. We'll move up to the next part of the garden. Next thing I'll show you, got these two trees here. This one is an apple tree, and we produced quite a few apples this year. And then this here is a peach tree, which I'm in Southwest Virginia, and I was told that it's amazing that this peach tree grows here at all. It produced, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of peaches. So I think sometime in the early spring, I'm going to need to come and trim it back. The peaches are very good. They're quite small, but they're absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to be looking at how to get this tree to produce fewer larger peaches rather than more smaller ones. See my apple tree, got one kind of sad looking apple that got left behind here. They're very dirty, but that cleans right off. These are green apples, Granny Smiths. I left a few on the tree to see if they would turn red or yellow at all, and they never have. Here's Stella again. Hi, Stella. She's such a good little companion. And up here, we have the third and final of the raised beds in my yard. You can see here's a huge mountain mint bush, which is absolutely beautiful. It smells incredible, and the pollinators love it. This is often in the spring completely covered in bees, and I get butterflies and everything. So this is the other big project. This is the largest fenced bed in the entire yard. And you can see I've started trying to clear it out. So this is what we started with. There's kind of a row down the middle, and there's two sides of they're not really raised beds. They're more of like, you know, boarded off. So this is what I started with. This is all comfrey, which is not edible as a vegetable, but it is used often in medicinal. It has a lot of medicinal uses for things like salves. It's supposed to be really good for wounds and for scrapes and things. And you can see it's kind of overgrown. There's comfrey everywhere. There's all of these thick weeds and brush, and there's some blackberry bushes in here. And so this is what this side used to look like. But I went through a few weeks ago and kind of mowed everything down with a hedge trimmer. But you can see that the comfrey, I put down cardboard, and the comfrey is still kind of peeking out through. And then over here, I ran out of cardboard, so I started using these, they're called Weed Barrier, that I bought at Lowe's. And that also, the cardboard has worked a lot better. Everything's peeking through and it's moved around a lot, but at least underneath the cardboard, the weeds are not really growing back so much. It's just in the spaces. But underneath the Weed Barrier, which I thought would prevent anything from growing, it's growing like crazy. You can see how it's kind of billowed up, like it's puffed up like that. When I laid them down, it was all flat. So things are growing back under here. And so what I've decided to do in order to try and be as efficient as possible with my time and resources is to do a combination. So you can see under here, I mean, it's almost like I didn't do anything. Everything's just growing. And this, I put this on, I mean, a couple months ago. So it really hasn't, it's still getting plenty of sunlight, obviously. It's still getting plenty of water. So this has obviously not been particularly effective. So I'm thinking the best strategy might be to do a little bit of both. So I have a bunch more cardboard today. I don't know if I have enough to cover this whole area. What I'm thinking I might do is cover everything in cardboard and then put the weed barrier down over it to kind of secure the cardboard, because you can see over here it's moved around quite a lot. The wind kind of blows these bits around, and then I get kind of holes in between. So I think hopefully the combination of those two will improve the situation. And I also would like to cover this all in mulch or leaves or something, but right now I just don't have that. And I don't have a car big enough to transport all of that. So I think that's what I'm going to do for this side, is pull this all up, put cardboard down, and then put this back on, and then cover this side also with that same weed fabric. So that's the plan for this afternoon. Hopefully, I've only got maybe another hour or so of sunlight today. So hopefully I'll be able to pull this back and cover at least this side, and get that done before the winter, in hopes that this will calm it down and everything will be stable over the winter. So I'm gonna go grab my materials and Alright, just in time for sunset, I finished covering the bed not just with cardboard, but also with the weed fabric on top, just to kind of hold everything down. And now I'm getting rained on, so time to clean up, and I'm going to come back and work on this other side again another day. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Really appreciate your time, and hope you have a great end of your winter gardening season.